Yo, I need some quick crowd participation. Just quickly, turn to one of your neighbors, one of your friends, and answer this question. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Say it out loud, turn to your neighbor. All right. It seems like back when we were, all right, real quick, come on, good. I said real quick. It seems like when we were young, hey, everybody, listen up, goodness. Pause. Okay, you guys wanted to be a lot of different things, clearly. It's like a fireman, does not take that long to say. It seems like back in the day, some of us wanted to be teachers, we wanted to be doctors, we want to be lawyers, maybe a fireman. But now, it's like so many of us, we want to be an author, we want to be a speaker, we want to be a podcast host, we want to be an online influencer. In fact, I saw a recent study that asked people, would you rather be an online influencer or would you rather be the president of the United States? Which one would you pick? They picked influencer. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the book Screw Tape Letters. It's by C.S. Lewis, where it talks about where a demon tries to teach other demons how to individually tempt this younger people to subtly get away from God, to edge them away from the Lord. And I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, the thing that was concerning, it was like, Christians, watch out, be careful. It was something called the prosperity gospel. It was this idea of subtly just using God as a stepping stone to prosperity. But what do you do when a generation isn't motivated by money as much as they're motivated by trying to make a difference? In fact, I think the new gospel for this generation we need to be careful of, that almost there, like Alex said, is this purpose gospel where we try to use God as a stepping stone to our purpose. In fact, most preaching, I think young people always resonate with. It's all about God's calling on your life. He's got a vision. There's a shift coming in your story. It's all about this thing, and you're the goal, and you're the hero, and what God has for you. And I'm wondering how much of us are like more concerned and more consumed with the calling on our life than the creator and caller of our life. Lord knows the time and the effort and the energy and the creativity we put in is more towards the purpose. Well, way bigger than even that, especially for a room like this of young Christian leaders. I think the most concerning thing is not even just a purpose gospel or the prosperity gospel. I would call it the platform gospel, where we subtly try to use God as a stepping stone for our platform. So where they used to pray, hey, God, if you would just give me some more money, what I could do for your name. Now it's us like, God, could you just build my platform? I could then do so much more for your name. But whose name are we actually supposed to be raising here? Whose name actually saves? It's only his name that people get saved through. It's not yours. In fact, we're supposed to be asking how to decrease our name so we can increase his. And this system does not work, and it's way harder to detect a platform gospel because it's for a good reason mostly. It's even got God wrapped around it. So I'm concerned about this platform gospel. In fact, I would say that every generation is tempted with the subtle way in which they can use God for what he can offer us rather than actually like just consume God and go towards God for who he actually is. It's no longer good enough to just say, hey, I am a pastor. Some of you guys are pastors, and that's not enough. It's not content. Like, you were saved by God and get to serve him and preach the most powerful message that ever was, but it's not enough to just be a pastor. Now you have to be, I'm a pastor who people have heard of. I am a leader who people have heard of. Even I'm a mother that people have heard of. It's not enough to just be a mom. I've got to be an influencer mom. It's not enough to be a student. I've got to be a podcaster. I've got to be an author. And no one wants to publish my book, but no worries. I can publish my own now. No one wants to hear me preach, and I don't want to be an intern, so I'll just start a podcast. Wait, I don't even have the money to start the podcast, but I do have this phone, so now I'm an influencer. And I'm not demonizing any of those things. I'm just saying, are you trying to seek attention over anointing? because you keep trying to seek other people and becoming someone that people know. That is not the Great Commission. You are going to use people. Here's a quick heart check to ask you. One, do you want to impress Christians more than you want to look like Jesus? It breaks my heart that could be yes. That I'd rather impress people temporarily than look like God and be like God who's there for eternity. Or a second question, are you praying for your platform more than you're praying for other people? The core problem with the platform gospel is that God then becomes an instrument, not a relationship. Miroslav Volv, I do not know how to say this name, but he says something amazing. He says, our main temptation, hey, you couldn't do better. Our main temptation is not to reject God outright, but to embrace God as something secondary and use God as an instrument for our own ends. Now, get me, y'all, I'm not demonizing these things. They are naturally happen when you are faithful. God does raise people's name. There's Moses, there's characters of the Bible that we know. Faithfulness can sometimes often have fruit, and that comes with, that's not bad. I'm not saying that calling is bad. I don't think platform is bad. I don't think purpose is bad. I don't even think prosperity is bad. I think some of these things we see in the Bible, and it can come, but they are not the goal. And they definitely will not satisfy. Because some of you guys have gotten more of it, and you're still just as discontent a year or two ago. God is not your stepping stone. He's actually our cornerstone. He's not a means to an end. He is the end. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He's not someone you step on to serve him. He is the prize. And you can find yourself into get this religiosity. Tim Keller, he says, religious people find God useful, but we as Christians, we're supposed to find him beautiful. Do you still find him beautiful, or have you just graduated that? Now you just want to make an impact for his name because it actually raises your name. Because that becomes the transaction he's an instrument, and God, if I raise your name, then you can raise my name, and we got the little deal. But again, you're decreasing so he can increase. Second core problem is if you follow the platform gospel, God becomes an instrument and people become competition. You know, you guys might say, no, I'm all about unity, diversity. I'm not like our grandparents' generation. I don't divide over denominations. That's the old school. We're cool. We want to work together. I'm all about unity of diversity, race, denomination, all this. Y'all are not about unity as much as you think you are. You know how I know you're not about unity as much as you think you are? Because everybody likes unity until somebody shows up who does the same thing as them, better than them. Then all of a sudden, I don't know if I like unity anymore because this person does my thing. But it's because you follow the platform gospel that you think it's my platform, my kingdom, my name, and their name is above my name instead of God's name being above all of our names. And so if you go that way, everyone's competition and everybody becomes a threat. We'll be okay if someone does something else, but if they do it better than you, they do it bigger than you, they do it easier than you, that we have a honest wrestle with that. Like someone just shows up and they can do all these things better than you. Isaac Adams says we often demonize those who threaten what we idolize. And yeah, you might even never see this in culture. We never do that where we see a threat just because they show up and they're really, really good at things. We never see them that way. I think sometimes we do in culture, personally. But unity isn't just supporting those who do the same thing as you. Unity is the maturity to see someone doing the same thing as you, better than you, getting more applause than you, and that doesn't bother you because you have your security in Jesus, not in people knowing your name. That is true unity. And so lastly, as I close out, y'all, we cannot become like Saul, who could have a great time when Goliath was being defeated, but the second he sees songs that are being sung about David and his name being raised above his name, all of a sudden there's a problem. Let me tell you one of the quickest ways to ruin a good day. Go home and compare your day to someone else. Saul could not celebrate David because he got more applause. He got more praise. And so what do? What is the proper response? What can we do as Christians? Is I would say we've got to remember. We've got to remember what it felt like to be lost. It's one of the prayers I pray all the time. God, would you help me remember and never forget what it felt like to be lost? I do not want to graduate the power of the gospel. And then I say, when I feel this anxiousness, I got to build something, do something. I'm starting to get into this more for my name. I just start praying like, remind me, Lord, what it was like the first couple of weeks of being saved. And I just say, if you want to close your eyes and just even think of that moment and those days for me. I don't know about you, but when I got saved, I was all out for Jesus. His love, like, it was crazy what my days before him looked like and what my next days look like with him. And I did not care about anything else but him. He satisfied. I could give up sin in a second for him. I definitely wasn't trying to impress anybody else. I was so satisfied in his eyes on me. And people, they weren't some project or stepping stone so I can build something on their backs. I really wanted to reach people so they could meet Jesus. And so remember what it felt like to be lost. Remember those days when you did it and you weren't contaminated with this other ulterior motives that are not as easily detected. But ask God and invite him, search my heart. Lead me in a way of everlasting. And lastly, just remember, at the end of the day, even if you don't get this, you're like, nah, I'm not sold. I want to keep pursuing, and this really works for me. At the end of the day, we all are going to go to heaven, and we are going to be worshiping the Lord. And even those big hitters, those big name leaders, those huge people of all generations, they're going to have these crowns, these elders. And the Bible says they will lay down and cast those crowns before God. And so even the biggest among us will bow before Jesus because he was the prize. So again, just ending with the question, do you want to look like Jesus or do you want to impress Christians? You cannot do both and you cannot have two masters.